20 seasons. One ranch. And a question nobody saw coming. What if this really is the last time we ever get to walk through the gates of Heartland Ranch? Because everything happening behind the scenes right now points to an ending fans never wanted to imagine. For nearly 2 decades, this ranch has been more than a television show. It has been a second home for millions of people who tuned in every single week to watch a family fight to stay together no matter what life threw at them. And now, after the emotional gut punch of the season 19 finale, the show's future is hanging by a thread that could snap at any moment. The official announcement came directly from the show itself, and the wording alone was enough to send fans into an emotional spiral. "The wait is over," the message read, confirming that production had already quietly begun in Alberta, Canada. But instead of pure celebration, the announcement carried a strange weight to it, almost like a family bracing itself for a goodbye rather than simply gearing up for another ride. The post went on to thank fans for 2 decades of loyalty, calling it 20 years of a family that felt like our own. That kind of language does not sound like the beginning of a new chapter. Sounds like the closing lines of one. Filming is confirmed to be taking place in Calgary, running from mid-May all the way through the end of August, giving the cast and crew months to capture whatever comes next for the Bartlett-Fleming family. And that timeline lines up with a fall premiere, which means the wait fans have endured since the season 19 finale is finally coming to an end later this year. But here is where things get complicated because nothing about how this season is being talked about feels like business as usual. Normally, a renewal announcement brings pure relief. This time it has done the opposite. It has fueled a growing fear that season 20 may not just be another season, but the final one the ranch ever sees. To understand why this fear is spreading so fast, you have to go back to how season 19 actually ended. The finale, fittingly called an episode about forgiveness, closed on one of the most emotionally loaded cliffhangers the show has ever delivered. After 19 seasons of loss, healing and heartbreak, Amy was left standing in front of a decision that could reshape everything we know about her future. Nathan's proposal was not just a romantic moment thrown in for drama. It was a turning point that forces Amy to choose between the life she has always known and a future that could take her away from the one place she has never truly left. And the show did not give us her answer. It left us standing right there in that silence, waiting, wondering, and honestly a little terrified of what comes next. At the same time, another storyline was quietly building toward something just as heavy. Georgie, who has spent years chasing her own path outside the ranch, was handed a life-changing opportunity from a stable overseas. It is the kind of offer most people would call a dream come true. But for a show built entirely around families staying rooted together, it also raises an uncomfortable question. What happens to Heartland when the people who built its heart start choosing to build their lives somewhere else? Her family's reaction only made the moment sting more, because instead of holding her back, they pushed her forward, telling her this is exactly where she is meant to go. It was supportive, it was loving, and it was also quietly devastating because deep down, everyone watching understood exactly what that kind of goodbye might really mean for a show already flirting with its own ending. And then there is the storyline fans are almost afraid to talk about out loud. Season 19 spent real time showing Jack finally beginning to loosen his grip on the ranch, letting Lou and the rest of the family carry more of the weight he has carried alone for years. On the surface, that reads like natural growth. But for longtime fans who have watched this family for 2 decades, letting go rarely means peace. It usually means preparation. And that is exactly why so many people are now convinced that season 20 is not just building toward another chapter of ranch life. It may be building toward the hardest goodbye this family has ever had to face. The uncertainty does not stop there, because even the people closest to this show cannot seem to agree on what season 20 actually means. On one hand, insiders and fans alike keep circling back to the same theory, the idea that this milestone season could be the final bow for the entire Bartlett-Fleming family. It is not just internet speculation either. The timing, the tone of the announcements, and the way the finale was written have all fed into a growing belief that this show is quietly preparing its audience for the end. Yet on the other hand, the woman who has carried this entire story on her shoulders for nearly 20 years is sending a completely different message. Amber Marshall, who has played Amy since day one, has openly said she hopes the series continues for another decade, admitting her fingers are crossed for even more seasons beyond this one. That is not the kind of thing someone says if they already know the end is near. So now fans are left stuck in the middle of two conflicting realities, one that says goodbye is coming, and one that says the ranch still has years left in it. This tug of war between hope and fear is exactly what makes season 20 feel so different from anything that has come before. Every other season had a clear direction. This one feels like it is being built on a knife's edge, where every storyline could either set up a fresh beginning or quietly close a door for good. And nowhere is that tension more obvious than in what is happening to Lou. Season 19 spent the better part of its run showing her slowly crack under the weight of trying to hold everything together at once. Between managing Heartland beef, fighting to keep the ranch protected from rustlers, and refusing to ask for help even as the pressure mounted, Lou pushed herself to a breaking point most fans had never seen from her before. The moment she seriously considered taking out a loan was not just a financial decision. It was a warning sign. A sign that she had convinced herself that if she let her guard down for even 1 second, the entire family could lose everything they had spent decades building. What makes this even harder to watch is how closely her struggle mirrors Jack's own journey. For years, Jack has been the backbone of this ranch, the one steady hand that never seemed to waver no matter what storm hit the family. But season 19 quietly showed cracks in that foundation too. Cracks that suggest even Jack cannot carry this weight forever. When two of the strongest characters on this show start bending under the same kind of pressure in the same season, it stops feeling like a coincidence. It starts feeling like the show is deliberately preparing its audience for a transition, one where the older generation begins stepping back, and the next generation is forced to step up, whether they are ready or not. That shift becomes even more significant when you look at who is confirmed to actually return for season 20. Lou, Jack, Nathan, Amy, Georgie, Caleb, Peter, and Mitch are all set to be back on screen, which on the surface sounds like reassurance that the core family stays intact. But look closer and you will notice something else. This is a cast list built around endings and transitions just as much as it is built around continuity. Peter's return alone raises questions, especially given how his history with this family has always been complicated, filled with moments of both connection and distance. Bringing him back into the fold this late in the show's run is not a random creative choice. It is a deliberate one, and deliberate choices at this stage of a series usually exist for a reason. And that reason keeps circling back to the same unanswered question hanging over everything. If Georgie is stepping away to chase a dream overseas, if Jack and Lou are finally letting go of control they have held onto for years, and if Amy is being pushed toward a decision that could take her away from the ranch entirely, then what exactly is being built here? A future for this family, or a farewell to it? Because every single piece we have seen so far fits both possibilities equally well, and that uncertainty alone is enough to keep longtime fans up at night wondering if they are about to watch this family say goodbye for good, or finally watch them build something stronger than ever before. The tension gets even heavier when you follow the timing of everything happening around the release itself. Filming wrapped through the end of August, giving the creative team just enough time to shape a fall premiere, and multiple reports now point to early October as the moment this family finally returns to our screens. For a show that has followed a steady rhythm season after season since it first premiered back in 2007, that consistency feels almost reassuring on its own. But the closer that date gets, the more it feels like a countdown to something much bigger than just another premiere night. It feels like a countdown to answers fans have been begging for since the moment that finale cut to black. And that is really what makes this season different from every single one before it. This is not just about whether Amy says yes to Nathan. This is not just about whether Georgie truly leaves for good, or whether Lou finally allows herself to rest, or whether Jack's quiet stepping back is the beginning of something peaceful or the beginning of something much harder to watch. This season is about whether this family, the one that has pulled so many of us through our own hard days simply by existing every week on our screens, gets to keep going, or whether we are all being gently prepared to let them go. Think about what this show has actually given people for almost 20 years. It gave viewers a reason to believe that family can survive loss, that people can rebuild after heartbreak, and that home is not about a perfect life. It is about showing up for each other when things fall apart. That is why this uncertainty hits so much harder than it would for any other series. This is not just a show ending. For a lot of people, it would feel like losing a family they have checked in on every single week for 2 decades. So now the only thing left to do is wait, and watch closely for every small clue the show gives us between now and premiere night. Because whether season 20 ends up being the beginning of a new era for the Bartlett-Fleming family, or the emotional final ride we have all been quietly dreading, one thing is certain. This family has never gone down without giving everything they have. And if this really is the end, they deserve nothing less than an ending that honors every single year they gave us. What do you think is really coming for this family? Do you believe season 20 is building toward a new beginning? Or do you think this is truly the final goodbye for Heartland Ranch? Type your honest theory in the comments below, because this conversation is far from over. If this breakdown kept you hooked the way it kept me hooked putting it together, do me a favor and hit that like button, and if you have not already joined the family here, hit subscribe so you never miss a single update on this story as it unfolds. There is so much more coming, and I do not want you to miss a second of it. I will see you in the next one. While the biggest headlines all circle around Amy, Nathan, and the future of the ranch itself, there is a quieter storyline building in the background that could end up hitting just as hard emotionally. Season 19 introduced fans to Dex, played by newcomer Dylan Hocko, alongside River, played by Camilla Fairburn, and almost immediately, their connection became one of the more talked about relationships of the season. It felt fresh, it felt real, and for a lot of longtime viewers, it brought back that same spark the show had in its earliest years, back when every new romance felt like it actually mattered. But nothing on this ranch ever stays simple for long, and that is exactly where Katie comes in. Katie, now growing into a much bigger presence on the show, has spent time around Dex in ways that have started raising eyebrows among fans paying close attention. It is subtle right now, the kind of thing you almost miss if you are not watching closely, but